So good afternoon, or depending on your location, good morning or good evening, good night, perhaps. It's a great pleasure to me to be able to welcome you all to this seminar on reproducible research organized by Leiden University Libraries and Elsevier. It's great to see that so many of you have tuned in. So thank you for your interest in these seminars. So this is the third and also the final seminar in this series. And today we shall continue our discussion of the phenomenon of reproducible research. In the previous seminars, we've already looked at the topic of reproducibility from a number of different angles. So during the previous seminar, it has been stressed, among other things, that reproducibility is actually a convoluted term, that it may refer to different concepts and to different kinds of activities. The precise meaning of terms such as replication, reproducibility, and repeatability will also vary along with the different academic disciplines. But we also saw that we can create some clarity in this whole debate if we concentrate on the concepts underlying these different terms, and if we clearly describe the components of the research process that are being replicated. So the previous seminars have also examined some of the problems and some of the challenges underlying what some have referred to as the replication crisis. So there can be a number of reasons why the results published in academic publications may not always be as reliable as we would hope, unfortunately. So there can be cases of actual fraud or misconduct, but mistakes can also be made by researchers acting in good faith. So there can be unintentional mistakes, misconceptions, specific scientific dead ends. Such things can probably never be avoided fully. When researchers are not sufficiently proficient in statistics or in computational methods, this may also lead to irreproducible research. So scholarship is ultimately a cumulative and an iterative process of discovery, and we simply cannot get everything right immediately. So science will probably never be fully reproducible. But at the same time, we need to make sure that there are also effective self-correcting mechanisms in place, mechanisms which can detect the methodological shortcomings of specific studies, mechanisms which can alert other researchers to issues such as these, so that mistakes are not repeated and not amplified. So reproducibility, I would say, is an essential prerequisite for this self-correcting capacity of science. Many of the speakers in the previous seminars have also explained that issues with irreproducible research can also be connected to the ways in which researchers are rewarded at the moment. So researchers at the moment are not always incentivized sufficiently to share their data, to document their methods, to make their software accessible and sustainable. There's often a normative dissonance in this context. So a disconnect what people think they should do on the one hand and what people actually do on the other. So many researchers probably endorse the basic principles of open science, but they may also feel that certain activities may potentially be harmful to their careers, or that it may impact their status. Brian Nosek in the first seminar stressed that at the moment, researchers are mostly rewarded for getting things published and not for getting things right. And of course, your chances of getting published increase significantly if you write about positive results or about groundbreaking research. And there are not that many incentives yet for writing about null results or about incremental research. So it was stressed there should also be a shift in the culture and in the reward system. So there ought to be a better recognition for the type of work that is needed to make research transparent and reproducible, for doing research in line with the ideals of the open science movement. So we've addressed a number of problems a number of critical issues, a number of challenges in the previous 2 seminars. But in this third and final seminar, we intend to end on a more positive note. So we also want to propose some solutions to all of these issues and to discuss the concrete steps that researchers can follow to make their research more transparent, more reproducible, and more reliable. So in the 2 hours that follow, we plan to make all the steps towards reproducible research more concrete. And we want to talk in more detail about the various tools, standards, and best practices that exist in this field. So the speakers we invited are going to address all of these topics. And I think that we actually have a great lineup of speakers today. And I'm really looking forward to all the talks on today's program. Before I introduce the first speaker to you, I need to make a number of administrative remarks. First of all, I need to mention that the seminar is being recorded, and the recordings of the talks will be made available shortly after the seminar through Leiden University Library's YouTube channel. You can also find the links to all the recordings on the blog of the Center for Digital Scholarship, accessible at digitalscholarship.leiden.nl. And if you'd like to tweet about the seminar, we would like you to use the hashtag reproducible research. And if you're not a speaker, please make sure that your camera and your microphone is switched off. And I think that this should have been done automatically. But if you have questions for one of our speakers, please type in your question using the chat function here in Zoom. And then I shall read these questions after the talk and ask the readers to respond. So as you can see on this slide, and as I explained earlier, today's session is primarily going to be about practical issues and about concrete challenges. So there will firstly be 3 lectures discussing some of the tools that can be used or some of the best practices that can be followed. And during the final 15 minutes of this seminar, we will also have a short panel discussion. So we invited 2 of the speakers to discuss some of the challenges and some of the difficulties researchers may encounter as they seek to make their research more reproducible. And actually, I would like to invite you all to share your thoughts about reproducible research with us, and to say a few things about the concrete obstacles that you may experience. Actually, so I'm addressing the participants who tuned in directly here. So if you are a researcher, you can perhaps ask yourself the question whether your own research can be replicated fully. And if the answer is no, what are the main difficulties or the main challenges you see? So if you can think of issues that can complicate replication, please communicate these to us using the chat function. So at a certain level of abstraction, it may be clear what you need to do to make your research more transparent. Obviously, we need to share data, we need to share methods. So if it's clear what we need to do, why doesn't everybody do these things? Why is there this normative dissonance? What complications can you really think of? Also, if you use specific tools to ensure reproducibility, or if there are certain solutions or approaches that you're very happy with, we'd also love to hear about all of this. So please write about this in the chat. There's actually a small team of people moderating the chat box today. So it would be wonderful if during this seminar, you could actually share some of your own experiences. We could then try to make sure that the panel discussion towards the end of this session actually addresses some of the concrete difficulties that you're into.